So, the year's almost over. We've got several lists coming your way over the next couple of days on this channel. Hey guys, it's Sean here from Blue Pizza Reviews, and today we're talking about some of my least favorite films of 2015. I've only seen 37 films from 2015, so keep in mind my list is gonna be, mild indifference to not a big fan to I didn't like it to I really couldn't stand this movie. With that said, let's dive in. Number 10. Coming in at number 10 is Little Boy. While it wasn't terrible, I really didn't like the fact that the trailer led this movie up to be like a movie about faith and how faith is important when they threw in a plot about racial insensitivity. I don't mind seeing racial insensitivity, but when I see it every year in so many movies, it gets tiresome after a while. And honestly, I wouldn't mind it if it was well handled, but it wasn't. It was mediocrely handled at best. Not the worst, but certainly not the best. Number 9. Before I say this one, let me just say right now, I actually kind of like this movie. But that being said, it's still a bad movie. Pixels. Yeah, this is not a good movie. Okay, it's not. There are some really good qualities. Chris Columbus is the director. You've got Peter Dinklage in the movie, who chews up some pretty good scenery for someone like him. The CGI is pretty impressive. And even though the humor is not the greatest, it's far from the worst. I like this movie, but it's not a very good movie. Number 8. How weird is it that I actually watched this next movie twice? I don't know. But number 8 is Pan. This movie, all things considered, is not an absolute complete travesty, but it's far from great. Aside from Hugh Jackman chewing up scenery and Rooney Mara delivering a pretty solid performance as Tiger Lily, you gotta put up with awful CGI and Garrett Hedlund overacting as Hook, and a kid I really don't like playing the role of Peter Pan. He didn't seem like Peter Pan. He's like a Peter Pan wannabe kid. Plus, even though they gave reason to why Smells Like Teen Spirit is in this movie, it wasn't well enough handled in my opinion. A lot of people hated this movie. It tanked at the box office, and I could see why. Number 7. Now, here's a film I don't think hardly anybody saw, because when I saw it, only a few critics actually talked about it. And number 7 is Max. This is a movie that honestly had a good beginning. I liked the beginning of Max. It had good character development, decent story structure, and I liked some of the maturity. Then the second act started to bore me, and then the third act jumped the shark massively. Hated this movie. It really is a bad movie. There's barely anything I can say about it that's positive. It's so mediocre, too, that it doesn't even leave that much of a lasting impression. In fact, I racked my brain trying to think about certain parts of the movie. My brain pushed a lot of this movie out. And the weird thing is, aside from Little Boy, this is the only other one I saw in theaters. So that's pretty odd. Number 6. I am going to get so much hate for this. This is probably going to be, of all the things on both of these lists, the best and the worst of the year list, this is probably going to be the thing that angers people the most. Now listen, I respect this movie. I really respect it for what it was trying to do. But I'm sorry, I did not like Furious 7. Now listen, I respect the late Paul Walker. I give the man a lot of respect. Loved Fast and Furious 6. But the problem with this movie is that the action was so over the top that it really was too flamboyant and over the top for such a seriously taken story. And that's the big problem I had with Furious 7. It was so serious. And that was the big drawback. Fast and Furious 6 had a silly, ridiculous, over-the-top plot, but still had a decent way of structuring itself. One more thing that bothered me, I just realized, could you stop with all the TNA shots in this movie? Seriously, there were more TNA shots in this movie than most movies I see. You think it wouldn't be bad, but no, it gets troublesome after a while. While a lot of people are probably going to put this on their best of the year list, I'm not going to do that. I wasn't a fan of it. I'm sorry, but that's just my opinion. Number 5. This is another movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yeah, San Andreas. Here's a little fun fact. This movie first came out, I think, on the first day I started my new job. So I didn't get a chance to see it in theaters. And honestly, when it came out at Redbox, I rented it after I got off of work and watched it that night. And I am happy I went to work that day instead of seeing it because, wow. Aside from Paul Giamatti, who is one of my favorite actors being in this movie, the rest of this movie is terrible. And much like Max, I pushed so much of it out of my head that I rack my brain trying to figure out what else was there in the movie aside from some really semi-passable CGI effects. This movie sucked. Next movie, number 4. Now, this was the first movie from 2015 that really disappointed me. And I know a lot of people actually kind of like this movie. And I don't know why. I respect you, but I don't see what anybody liked in this movie. Number 4 on my list is Chappie. I'm sorry, what was so good about this movie? This was Short Circuit meets RoboCop in the worst possible way. They took the good qualities about both movies, sucked out their likability, threw it in with that Neil Blomkamp vibe, and then they made this movie with it. And don't get me wrong, District 9 was a great movie. But my expectations even higher for Chappie, hoping that this would be the movie that Neil Blomkamp returns with, but no, it sucked. Next number. Number 3. Wow, Cameron Crowe. He has fallen from grace, and number 3 is Aloha. The actors were trying their hardest, but the movie was so confusing, so hard to follow. I couldn't comprehend what the movie was supposed to be about. So I'm not going to waste my time talking about it anymore. I hated it. Next number. Number 2. Much like Furious 7, the people that saw this movie actually liked it. And I don't know why. In my opinion, this is one of the most pretentiously made films I think I've ever seen. Cop Car. Honestly, had it not been for some decent cinematography and the fact that Kevin Bacon is in the movie, I would have completely forgotten about this film. Which would have been for the better, but this movie is so criminally overrated and so pretentious that I can't pass it up. It sucks. And had my number 1 pick not come out this year, this would have been my worst film of the year. Number 1. Okay. I gotta get on the download with you guys about this one. This is bad. I mean, this is really, really bad. This is a film that got pushed from January of 2014. A month that's already bad for movies. They pushed it 13 months back to February of 2015. I really don't want to talk about this one, but I'm going to say it real quick. My least favorite film of 2015 is Seventh Son. The problems with Seventh Son. The acting is terrible. Okay? The actors are phoning it in this movie. The CG is terrible. The story is garbage. And it has a big middle finger ending. I'm not going to waste my time talking about this movie anymore. This is one of my least favorite movies of the last few years. Quite possibly one of my least favorite movies. I hated this film. So there you go. Those are my top 10 worst films of 2015. Now I want to hear from you guys. What are your guys' worst movies of the year? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. So join me next time for my best movies of the year list. Until then, I'm Sean from Blue Pizza Reviews. Peace to all of you, and have a wonderful day.